It's NFL franchise tag deadline day, and the New England Patriots are placing the transition tag on safety Kyle Dugger. We'll tell you what that means on today's episode of Patriots Today by Chat Sports. My name is Harrison Graham, Jeremy Fowler with the news first. And Rolly, your instant reaction to this is...
I think it's a great move by New England. I will say I did not think they were going to use any tag on Onwenu or Kyle Dugger, but now that I've seen the logistics of the transition tag, it makes a lot of sense for them to use it on Kyle Dugger. We'll explain why in just a second, but at least keeping him here for the short term because they're going to be able to match any single offer that he signs. So like, for example, if he signed a deal with the Commanders in free agency for 4 years and $50 million, the Patriots could just match that, and then they've signed Dugger to that exact contract. So we'll explain more in depth what that means for New England in a second. But this is why you subscribe to the channel, because you will never miss a piece of Patriots news. We're 300 away from 9,000. The goal was to get there before free agency starts. It's 300 in about 5 or 6 days. I think we can get there, so hit that sub button. But it's obviously a good thing to keep Kyle Dugger around because he's a talented ball player.
Yeah, and it's an interesting move. I saw Brad Spielberger tweet that this is the first transition tag since Kenyon Drake in 2020, only the fourth in the last decade. We'll kind of talk through the logistics of that a little bit more as well. But I don't think you could let Dugger hit free agency and Mike Onwenu. Like, I think giving yourself some protection here on both of these guys, at least one of these guys, made a lot of sense. And we'll talk about Onwenu in a minute, but we've talked about it, Rolly. You already cut Adrian Phillips. Jabril Peppers isn't getting younger. Like, if you lose Kyle Dugger, you're looking at a potential complete overhaul at the safety position. So I think this move allows Dugger to see what's out there, to see what he can get on the open market, which, by the way, this safety free agency class is shaping up to be a pretty strong one. I know Antoine Winfield got tagged, but Cameron Curl didn't get tagged. I don't think Xavier McKinney's getting tagged unless he does it the last minute here. So we'll see what's out there, and if he does get a healthy offer, we'll see if New England matches it.
Yeah, I mean, I just love the idea of keeping them. And we've heard Elliot Wolf and Gerard Mayo speak in depth at their press conferences and media appearances since they've been pretty much hired for GM role, which is not official, but he's the de facto GM, and then obviously Gerard Mayo, the head coach, that they want to keep homegrown talent in Foxborough, in New England. And this is the first step to doing that. Dugger was one of the best players on our defense last year, and I think this is a good move by New England to at least give them some protection, as you mentioned, Harrison, in case he goes elsewhere and signs a deal where they can just say, well, that's not going to happen, and they could bring him back. So grade the move by the Patriots. A, B, C, D, or F. I'm giving it an A-. I think it's a good decision to bring him back at least in one term and give yourself some protection. So I think this is a good move. I'd grade it A-. Let me know what you guys would grade it down below.
Yeah, I like the move, Rolly, and I think financially the transition tag lines up more with probably what he's worth than what the traditional franchise tag of $17 million would have been. Look, if he gets that in the open market, kudos. I don't think the Patriots are going to match that, but if he's in that 12 to 14 range, that gives you the option to bring him back or to let him go. Right now, his cap hit is $13.8 million on that transition tag. Now, do you think he ends up signing a long-term offer sheet with somebody, or do you think ultimately he ends up playing on this transition tag?
No, I think he will sign a long-term deal with New England. Or, I mean, it could technically be with anyone that just, it turns into the Patriots. That's the beautiful thing of the transition tag that, look, I just wanted to explain it to people who didn't know because there is confusion between the franchise and transition tag. Kyle Dugger is essentially a restricted free agent. So he can still talk with other teams and sign an offer sheet is what they call it. But it's an offer sheet because the Patriots are given a specific window. I forget if it's 48 hours or 24 hours where they can match it and basically just sign Dugger to that exact deal that another team offered him. They're given that right. So unless he gets paid an astronomical amount of money by another team, Kyle Dugger should be playing in New England next season. But there has been a lot of reports about the Patriots wanting to sign him to a long-term deal and keep him in Foxborough anyway. So I think, honestly, the Patriots are just using this tag to give him protection, but I think they're going to get a job or a deal done anyway to keep him around in that Patriots secondary for a while.
Yeah, unless some team has him reset the market at the safety position or something like that, I do think he'll be back. I'll be curious to see if a team does go through that just exercise knowing that New England likely will match, because if you are a team doing that, then you have to be willing to wait out the time it takes for New England to potentially match. And then obviously if they do match, then that team has potentially lost out on somebody else. So I do wonder about kind of the timing of all this. I do think if he signs an offer sheet with another team, probably day one of free agency, I would expect it to be very, very early.
I'll also say this, Harrison, is I love the flexibility it gives you, the Patriots too, because what if, now it's very unlikely, but what if he ends up not signing an offer sheet with another team in NFL free agency? Him and New England still can't get a long-term deal done. Well, then he's going to play on that one-year transition tag of $13.8 million, which if you franchise tagged him would have been at $17.5 million.
That's a good
price.
So
you saved yourself $3.5 million on the off chance he doesn't do that. Like we said, I feel like we've used the word protection quite a bit here, but it does do that, and it gives the Patriots a very good chance of keeping Kyle Duggar in New England for the long term, which was ultimately the one thing that I think every Patriots fan wanted to do. But there is a flip side to using the transition tag on Kyle Duggar as well. Well, that means Mike Onwenu is going to hit the open market as an unrestricted free agent.
Now, to be clear, the Patriots could still get a long-term deal done before free agency gets going on Monday, the legal tampering period. So if they come to terms on an agreement, that could happen. Now, if I'm Mike Onwenu in his camp in a pretty weak free agency offensive line group, especially at tackle, I'm probably wanting to hit the open market. I want to see what's out there for me and see if someone's willing to break the bank for me. There's teams like Cincinnati, the Giants that could be willing to overpay to get a more quality right tackle than they currently have. So we'll see. Andrew Callahan does say that he will hit free agency. I don't know if he's saying that really in terms of he's heard that they're not going to get an extension done before free agency, or just because the tag has now been used by Kyle Duggar. But just from an exercise standpoint, again, if they want to re-sign him before then, they can if both parties agree.
I think the most intriguing part about this little, I don't know if you could call it note or just whatever you want to say, social post from Andrew Callahan, is that last little blurb. As one of the best offensive line available, Onwenu should become the Pats' highest paid free agent this offseason, whether he stays or goes, which means he is forecasting Onwenu is getting a bag. Remember, the franchise tag for Mike Onwenu would have been just a little bit north of $20 million, which to me was much of an overpay for Onwenu. He's a fine right tackle. We'll get into that in a second. But I think he's worth closer to that $15, $17, $18 million range. But if Callahan's saying he's going to be the highest paid free agent either leaving New England or coming back to the Patriots, well, that kind of makes me believe it could be closer to that franchise tag number, just with more years added onto it. And I don't know if that's what Mike Onwenu is worth at that $20 million price point.
Well, it tells me he's getting at least 14 because the transition tag of Duggar's 13.8. So he's essentially alluding to here he's getting at least that. It'll be interesting. You guys let us know. Do you want to re-sign Mike Onwenu? Y for yes and for no. The Patriots really obviously have a ton of money, but I wouldn't put Mike Onwenu in that blank check category either. He's a solid player, but it's not like this is a future all-pro on your hands. This is a above average to good starter. This is not a, top 5, top 10 player at his position type of player. Versatile, you like that he can play inside and out, but $20 million for Mike Onwenu, if they thought he was worth that, they would have probably just franchise tagged him.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, is I don't think he's worth that type of money. The versatility definitely adds into his price point and value, but it's not like he was Caleb McGarry last year, the right tackle for the Falcons, who had an unbelievable season in 22 and got paid big-time money in 2023. So I don't know if Onwenu is commanding the $18 to $20 million, and nor should he. Now, I do think it's important, we've discussed this in detail on the channel, that the Patriots re-sign Onwenu so you don't have to replace both tackle positions for the Patriots this season. But I'm also not going to sit here and say, well, it's such a big position of need for the Patriots where I'm going to pay him $18-20 million. I'm standing firm. I don't think I would give him more than 16.5, 17 mil annually. I don't know how your thoughts on that, Harrison, but I think I would sit at 4 for 16. That's cool with me, like 4 for 64, but that's as high as I would go, to be honest.
It's sticky for New England because if you're Onwenu, you probably feel like you have the leverage, considering the Patriots don't have a starting tackle on their depth chart, which is why if I'm him, I'm hitting the open market. I'm seeing what's out there. I'm seeing what teams are throwing at me, and then I'm coming back to New England. I'm saying, this is what they're giving me, man. Like, if you're not going to come to this ballpark, then I'm going to go. But at the same time, if you're New England, young head coach, first-time GM, like, yes, you have cap space, but, like, you don't want to be writing blank checks to, B-minus level players either. Like, you gotta pick and choose. So, like, it'll be interesting. I mean, I'll ask you this, Rolly. Would you rather have Mike Onwenu for 4 years and $72 million, $18 a year, or Mekhi Becton 1 year and $9 million?
You don't want to hear my answer.
I might go Mekhi Becton, man. Like, the upside is still higher than Onwenu's. He was healthy last year for the Jets. Like, is it a long-term solution? Maybe not, but, like, if it's half the price for probably a similar caliber player and he can play left tackle, it'll be interesting, man. Like, I think both sides are going to let this hit into free agency and just kind of see what the market is.
I will say this. The continued reports of New England going to pursue Tyron Smith in free agency definitely adds some nuance to the situation, because if Gerard Mayo and Elliot Wolf truly believe they can swing Tyron Smith to the Patriots at that left tackle spot, maybe they deem Mike Onwenu, if that price point's way too high for them, as an expendable asset, and they just address the right tackle spot in the NFL drafts, as we all expect the Patriots to draft some sort of offensive tackle in the first 3 rounds of that 2024 NFL draft. But maybe that Tyron Smith news of him being a free agent, and if Patriots believe they could swing him this way, maybe that makes Mike Onwenu more expendable than I have made him out to be, and maybe some of us as Patriots fans think he.
I mean, if nothing else, it's one extra player that you're able to go after with Tyron Smith being available. So, going to be an interesting few days as free agency is set to hit here next Monday. All right. Well, busy news day in the NFL. A lot of franchise tags getting dropped. New list of free agent targets tomorrow. Subscribe to the channel. You are not going to want to miss out. Rolly, any teasers on that list?
You're going to see. I forgot myself muted there. You're going to see certainly a Mr. Left Tackle from Dallas. Probably going to see a defensive tackle from Miami. We'll see the full list of people who does get tagged and who doesn't get tagged, and then we'll have a updated list there. Maybe Michael Pittman slips through the cracks. Who knows? We got a little bit to go before that deadline. Same thing with Calvin Ridley, so keep an eye out for that tomorrow.
All right, stay tuned. Subscribe. We got you covered. See you then.